contact if you got them prone, which will help. I'm gonna drop this down with your fingers. So for the uppers, I identified the transverse process to spinous process relationship and then just a little bit wider. I like a tissue slack J, which kind of helps since the J is essentially just staying wide and on top of it, but then just sort of setting right into it, just with that sort of movement. So essentially, my movement went like this. Essentially, it was a backwards J on that side. It would be a forward J on the other side.
J for Jeremy.
J for Jeremy, exactly right. Exactly.
I'm sorry. And Jenny.
That's right.
So I'm wide,
Dr. J.
and then I'm gonna set in now, I'm on the underside essentially of that rib head, and I've got a good hypothenar, but I always think piezoform because it's very specific. That gives me a chance. Breathe assist on this particular one, in and out. And then, of course, you body drop right into that particular maneuver. For the lowers, there's not much different. Now, with the rib move, as you're mentioning, you can also add a bit of head tilt. And what that head tilt does is as the head's sort of rotating, it'll bump up that transverse process and thus the rib, which has an attachment at the body, underside of the transverse process. Then it peekaboos just beyond that. And gives you a chance to get a good contact on the posterior arch of that particular rib. And so it sort of helps, like if I were to ask for a breath assist and then ride into that exhale, I'm locking it into place. Or I can meet him halfway by bringing his rib to me, and then I don't have to thrust as much on my curtsy drop.
Makes sense.
Right. Now for the lowers, one of the key components of this is, again, finding that transverse process, which is here, but the posterior arch of the rib is here. So I can take my contact and then do the same thing by drawing the ASIS towards me, which kind of helps lock it out, and then it gives me a body drop. Body dropping from this position is kind of awkward.
Very.
It can be done, but this helps because it meets you halfway, essentially, which is kind of a cool aspect of it. So I don't know what the
It
official
wasn't a move
names
on our
of these
list.
are.
Smarter, not harder.
It's really all,
So basically,
Oh,
we only
thank you.
do that move if the rib head is out.
you will have identified the rib head misalignment by essentially identifying, so
With the
this is.
with the motion palpation.
Yes. Now, here's a situation where we've got kind of a pretty extreme scoliosis. And in this situation, we got an obvious rib hump on the right-hand side. His shoulders don't necessarily align with the thorax. And I know that will distort things already. But essentially checking the mechanics of the thoracic spine using your normal means. But then you come out laterally to the ribs, and if they were sitting or standing, take a nice breath in. You'll see that your thumbs will separate and blow out, and then they'll approximate, and then you go to the next level. Let's try this one. Good, that one's got great movement. Go ahead and let it all out. This one's kind of the worst one here. So in this situation, I might have identified that this rib isn't expanding the way that it should, or it's imbalanced between the two, minus the scoliosis. But that gives me a chance to identify which rib might need it. Patient's complaint will not be dull, achy pain in this general area.
It'd be sharp.
It's going to be sharp, especially on inhalation.
Yeah.
And so
Oh
they'll
my
take
God,
shallower breaths and demonstrate, just this uncomfortable position. If it's lower, you also have to think kidneys or stones. But if it's here in the middle,
Smart.
this is, what lives there. It's really all about what lives there. This is flank, so you've got kidneys in this general area. This is heart and lungs, and if there's no trauma and you're not suspicious of fracture. Trauma in COVID, post-COVID, cough, sneeze, allergy seasons, starting a lawnmower, things that people do can, dare I say, throw a rib out, rather easily. And then it's like, I can't lay on that side when I go to sleep. So again, clues that the patient gives you to know what you're doing here. You're dying for me to just pummel this area.
Who's dying, you or him?